Hi, Brittany.
Hey, how's it going, Ryan?
It's going well. Well, welcome to episode something
Yep.
of the Way podcast by Best Era. I'm your host, Ryan McKeen.
And I'm Brittany Green.
Welcome to The Way with your Best Era hosts, Ryan McKeen and Brittany Green. The podcast where we dive deep into the world of legal business and marketing. Each week, we'll be discussing the latest trends, strategies, and insights that are shaping the legal industry. So whether you're a lawyer, marketer, or business owner in the legal industry, this podcast is for you.
We are so happy to be here, Brittany.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here too. It's been a while. We've taken a break, so I feel like if we sound like we're making things up as we go, we totally are.
So since we last did this, which really feels like a month ago, what's happened?
Gosh, I'm trying to think. Have we even filmed in the new year yet? Were we in 2025 the last time we sat down? I honestly don't even know.
I don't know either.
So we've had a lot happen.
So let me just recap. So I went down to National Trial Lawyers in Miami.
Yep.
And that was a wonderful event. So many great people down in Miami. I ended up twice in Little Havana having Cuban food, which does not suck. Weather was 79, sunny, amazing, brutal to get off the plane at midnight in Hartford, walk into a parking garage that's like 20 degrees and windy, and drive back home in the dark. But it's the price we pay for being in paradise for a little bit. And, it was an interesting conference because a lot of talk in the hallway. That's where I am. I didn't go to any seminars. I was there to support virtual case managers by Get Staffed Up, which is awesome and growing and getting a lot of positive feedback from that. But a lot of the talk in the hallways was private money coming into the space, consolidation, how the industry is going to respond, AI. So there is a lot of disruption and change going on in the personal injury space. That was my big takeaway from National Trial Lawyers.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would agree. I mean, I wasn't there, but it seems the talk of the town in many circles seems to be that case. We've got some clients even talking about, in this new headspace of mergers and acquisitions and what do we do about it? How do we go about it? So, it's definitely the new fad going on here.
Yeah, and you're seeing it in so many other industries. What people were saying is, a few years ago, private equity was buying up accounting firms, and now it's law firms. They're starting in the personal injury space. It makes sense because the rewards can be much higher. But I think it's coming for all of legal, and personal injury is just the first to feel the effects. And, you're starting to see some firms merge, sell, and I think you're going to see more and more and more consolidation as we move forward, especially in the PI space. It's not going to go away.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Are you pro this trend?
Well, it's one of these things where you don't have a choice, right?
Right.
Like the planet's getting warmer. Like, what are you going to do?
Yep.
Right? Are you going to ride your bike more? Are you going to put in more air conditioning? Are you going to do nothing? These are all choices that firm owners are going to face because this is the trend. So, really, you should be thinking about how you're going to niche down and survive in a market where there's more money in it. I actually think it's going to affect the mid-sized firms the fastest. So people who may have been players in their market or players locally, they're the ones who are going to get squeezed the first by bigger ad spends, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can sort of buy your popularity in a way, and people's memories are short. You can buy good advertising, you can buy good marketing, and I think you're going to see the mid-sized firms in the markets get squeezed the most. But there's a lot of room for firms that are not that. So small batch, craft sort of personal injury firms, they can still survive. Referral-based personal injury firms, they can still survive. But I think it's really important for law firm owners in the personal injury space to decide what lane that they're going to pick. Are they going to try to compete with it? Are they going to try to outspend it in their market? Are they going to merge? Are they going to sell, or are they going to niche down? I mean, you can imagine a lot of these bigger firms, they're not going to want to touch things like medical malpractice or products liability or a whole host of other things. So maybe you go into those spaces. Maybe you go into governmental immunity kinds of cases or different things where the litigation can be complicated, where things are not easily, don't lend themselves so easily to AI and mass processing. So I think that there are moves out there. I think it's no different than sort of, we used to do it here, like the hamburger space.
Yeah.
Like there's McDonald's, there's Burger King, there's Wendy's, but in Glastonbury, there's Plan B, who's a local craft burger place. And I think those are your options.
Yeah, and I think that's spot on because as you were, talking, it's so true. I think there's typically can only be usually about 3 big players, right? That are, the big spenders. And it's incredibly hard to break through into that spend marketing wise. And you're right. It's that mid-sized firm that's going to have the most struggle with it and decide where they want to head to. Do they want to continue to try to compete, which is, again, just getting increasingly harder because of the ad spend that these bigger players are coming in with and are willing to drop. It's just not necessarily feasible for these mid-sized firms to do. So I think the ones that are going to win are the ones that are going to be strategic about niching down or putting an emphasis on things that aren't just their ad brand identity.
And, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're saying, I've got an estate planning practice, I got a family law practice, I got an immigration practice, whatever that is, a bankruptcy practice, right? Any sort of consumer facing practice, pay attention to the space because I can tell you, I think it's coming for you. Maybe not. Maybe your 2025 and 2026 don't look that differently. But from where I sit, where we work with firms out of the PI space, it's like, oh my gosh, there is so much opportunity. There is such good reward. And there's a lot of what we call blue ocean out there to fish in. So I think we can't be the only people on the planet who see it. We're talking about it here on a podcast. Other people, investors, are going to see it. And I think you're going to see it play out across those other spaces as well. But before that, I had gone to Philadelphia to go work with a client for a day. And I was struck by the sheer number of personal injury billboards.
Yeah, Philly, I think, is
unbelievable.
Lousy with them.
Unbelievable. And I saw it was I didn't go to the conference, but I saw something. It was like a brochure from the AAJ Winter Conference that called it the Clutter Wars of all these billboards. And I was like, yes, that is the exact right term. I was taken aback. I'm like, how does anybody stand out in this?
Right.
And really what you have is firms almost essentially assuming defensive positions because they're saying, I'm going to buy a board. I'm going to hang on to my board. So you, bigger firm, cannot buy it. Mm-hmm. And that's an interesting arms race. I would be shocked if I, for the reasons we just talked about, if I went back to Philly in 5 years, got my ride share from the airport, headed to downtown and saw, the hundreds of billboards. And part of it was like, you see some of these big players like Top Dog and Pamba Hockey. Okay. But then you see firms with like one billboard.
Right.
I'm like, what, bro? What are you doing? I almost want to call you and give you free consulting advice, which is like take down your one billboard.
Yeah, I can promise you, if you can only afford one billboard, you should not be doing billboards in your marketing spend. I can promise you that.
But huge spends and like the 3 consecutive billboards or 5 consecutive billboards in a row were big. But people flexing some serious money down there, both offensively and defensively, and I think very hard to break through.
Absolutely.
I think if you are the top spender or you're the second top spender, maybe the third top spender in market, you can achieve that. But otherwise, if you're the guy with one billboard, like you're just giving money to the bigger people who are just like, oh, personal injury lawyer.
Yeah. Especially if, your billboard is just your name and injured, call, whatever your phone number is. That's not going to move the needle for you.
No, and we can get into this a little bit too. I don't think, branded firms, like we were at Connecticut Trial Firm, like that's like a branded firm.
Right.
I don't even think that's sticky enough in 2025.
No, I think if you had started Connecticut Trial Firm today, you wouldn't name it that.
No, and I think something that stands out is something like Top Dog Law or Sweet James, some personalized, out of the box sort of branding that I think you're going to see also a rise of both in and out of the personal injury space, because I think it is harder to stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right. I think you can't just have your last names on your law firm anymore and think that that's good enough to be memorable. Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more people thinking about their firms in a way that's a true brand, not just a law firm.
Or they're going to be affiliating with a brand.
Right.
They're going to be partnered with a brand, or they're going to get referrals from a brand.
Yep.
But it's really getting harder and harder to stand out in a market. And, you start looking out there, and we've got firms in our area who, their names have a bunch of syllables when they advertise.
Yep.
And you look out there and you're like, Top Dog, 2 1-syllable words. I like it. Sweet James, 2 1-syllable words. I think James is 1 syllable.
James, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
So just before we get the mail, I don't want Ryan to...
As the former elementary school teacher who took a Foundations of Reading test, yes, James is 1 syllable.
I think so. You clap once, right?
Yes, exactly.
James, not
exactly.
James.
That yes, you're good.
So I think you're going to see 1-syllable names. We have an injury lawyer here in the Hartford area who has a very simple last name.
Yep.
1 syllable. I think that pops. Again, just less for the brain in a cluttered market.
Yeah. Easy to spell, easy to remember.
To say, easy to remember, easy to love, easy to hate.
Yep.
Really simple name. So, I think you're going to start seeing that level of branding, and that it is something that has, as we have done private work, that we have worked with some firms on really trying to develop that for them, because we see it as a massive competitive advantage.
Yeah, I'm excited for these clients that we've been working with that are just sort of starting to figure out and own these new brand names and identities. I'm excited to see where they're going, especially because most of them aren't really in the PI space. So they're going to be sort of the leaders in those other spaces coming out of this with these, unique brand identities. So it'd be really interesting to see where their path goes with that.
So if you are at all interested in developing that, learning more about that, working with us to do that, please don't hesitate to give Brittany an email, brittany@bestera.io, and we can explore that possibility with you, because I encourage you to do it. I think it makes sense. I would not be Connecticut Trial Firm in 2025. I would not be McKeen Law. Well, I guess I am McKeen Law, but that's
but you're
a
not
different.
Looking to grow.
I'm not looking to grow. If I was really looking to grow, I would come up with some simple, like caricature moniker kind of thing. Yeah. On our travels too, we also went to Seattle.
We did. That was a really fun trip. I've never been.
I had never been to Seattle either, and it was tremendously fun.
Not just because of Pearl Jam, too.
No, not just.
It was mostly Pearl Jam, but
it was mostly Pearl Jam, but a lovely city in the Pacific Northwest. We worked with an amazing firm out there. We spent the day up on the 40th floor of the highest residential tower in Seattle. So we're looking down at the Space Needle.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And you see the Cascades and Mount Rainier and the I guess it's a bay out there. Sound.
Puget Sound. Yeah.
You get to see in all of Seattle. You're like, oh, there's Microsoft, there's Amazon.
Yeah.
And that was a ton of fun. Mm-hmm. I am still, we're not even a year into this. And every single time we work with firms like in an intensive like that, it is amazing to me.
It's so amazing. It's so fulfilling. I think that's my favorite part of what we do here.
We all enter the room one way, and they leave it another way. Mm-hmm. And it's through a mixture of facilitation, support, encouragement, process, analysis, and strategic planning that really leaves them. I think the word that I love is just clarity and momentum and alignment in the things that are really like those are like the big problems in firms, like where you are not aligned or you don't have a clear idea as to where you want to go and you don't know how to get there, even if you know where you want to go. So that work to me is so profound, and I love doing it. Loved being out there in Seattle. Loved the firm we were with, and great time.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like you said, I just love, this one was a good one too, because they're a more mid-sized firm, I'd say. And so there was more leaders at the table when we worked with them. And it was interesting being able to see the leader of the firm, who's definitely the truest definition of a visionary. She's just like popping off ideas left and right. And then you've got, you know, her COO over there on the other end of the table, who's stoic and, you know, okay, well, let's map this out with Bestera. Like, how are we actually going to do all these things that we want? So it was definitely fun to see that, but still be able to have them bridge these gaps and work so seamlessly together. And like you said, they, at the end of the day, they align on vision and values and have trust and respect. And that's what creates that perfect partnership.
Yeah, it was remarkable. That was also remarkable to me because I think that's one of the first firms that we have worked with where it was really women-led.
Yeah.
There was one guy in the room.
Yep.
It was interesting to see the dynamics of a women-led team. Not that we haven't worked with women leaders.
Right.
Most firms that we worked with have involved a mix of genders.
But I think the actual law firm owner has always been a man so far. We did actually, after coming back, also just recently worked with a female-led owner too. But yeah, up until then, it's pretty much been the male owner. And then, yes, often it seems the women are around him to support him. There's a lot of women in the room, but yeah, this was the first.
Yeah, and
true leader.
It was a really interesting energy and a different energy where there was more listening.
Absolutely. Yep.
And
I mean, I'm sorry, guys, way less ego.
Way less
ego. No offense to anyone that we've worked with, you know, our male owners and stuff that we worked with. I love them all. I truly do. I think they're amazing leaders. They lead with empathy and compassion too, but there was a difference. There is so much of a difference of this leader being able to still lead and have her voice be heard, but truly listen and receive the feedback she was getting. And immediately you can see the changes she would make based off of listening to her team.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And we get little windows into the world on these, you know, firms and their culture and who they are and their opportunities and their problems. And, you know, it's just, it is a very interesting seat to be in as an outsider and see things. But yes, so you women-led law firms, go you.
Yeah, we need more of them out there. So if you're a woman and a lawyer and thinking about striking on your own, I think it's a great place for you to be because we need more of it.
Yeah, no, and I think, you know, look, our leadership team at the firm was male-dominated, ego-dominated.
Yeah.
Probably more combative.
Yeah. Can always do better with more women at the table, I think. That's always my take.
So, all right, we've taken a
diversion. I know,
diversion.
Tangent.
Sorry, we play jazz on this podcast. You don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, that usually stems from the fact that we're like 5 minutes before, what should we talk about today? And that's about it. So that's the extent of our planning.
But that's, I think, useful.
It is.
Because sometimes we've sat down and we planned a show, and the conversations that we wanted to capture were better in the planning session.
Absolutely.
So we have an idea of where we want to take this. And, you know, really, like, where we want to take it is sort of all the things that we've talked about that led up to this, aside from our tangent about women-led firms, which is great, which is really the idea that advertising, even things like SEO and even your social, is very different than branding. That branding is how people feel about you. Mm-hmm. And advertising is like their essential recognition of your name.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think people either conflate the two or mix the two up or just don't understand that other aspect of it, that, branding and marketing shouldn't just be knowing your name. And this is where I think as we get into this world of a lot more private equity and mergers and acquisitions, that having a true identity is going to be the thing that makes these smaller firms that don't want to merge stand out, and who don't necessarily have the budget to compete on billboards and TV with those bigger firms. Knowing your true brand identity in who you are and showing that to your potential clients is what's going to keep you in the game.
You know, we do office hours in our Best Era community, which you can join for $1 a day. Mm-hmm. Put a link in the show notes. We were doing our office hours, which is just drop-in consulting. Sometimes we get a few firms. Sometimes we get, 10. Sometimes the conversations are more social. Sometimes it's substantive. This was a pretty substantive office hours. And one of the firms that we were talking with, a smaller firm, very successful, but not a behemoth. They were talking about doing their newsletter, and I don't know if it works. This is a mailed newsletter, mm-hmm. and the owner says, look, everywhere we go in our town, though, people, they comment on the newsletter. Mm-hmm. They like their son's jokes. They like the recipes. They like to know what's going on, and that is how people feel. That is conveying, that is connecting, that is something that, a behemoth comes into your market that they're not going to be able to replace. Yeah,
people always remember how you made them feel. So he's exactly right. I mean, they do their newsletters so right. There's, nothing about the actual PI industry. It's all jokes from their son, who they were lamenting that, now that their son is a teenager, he's not as, they can't use the cuteness factor as much, which is funny. They have to pivot and figure out what else to do for that section. But that alone shows how the feeling and the culture of the newsletter, that it is that family feel and that you can connect with them on that personal level. I mean, even she shared a really sweet newsletter from 2 years ago. They had done a tribute to one of the owner's grandmother who had passed away. I mean, how amazing is that, right? To share something like that with your audience. It just shows that you care enough about your audience to share the personal side of you.
And we're a time zone and a connected flight away from this firm. But it just shows you, we've been through some stuff. And one of the things we went through earlier this summer was all of our coffee mugs were gone, yeah. Which, okay, I don't really want to get into that, but they were all gone. We had no coffee mugs. So we said to the community, we don't have any coffee mugs. And what did they do? This firm right away, despite not knowing us, not being near us, they mailed us one of their coffee mugs.
Yeah, it was so sweet.
And then we've been going through some more stuff. It's been public and things. And the same firm mailed you and Allison.
Yeah, that was so sweet. Not branded at all with them. There were mugs with, as we know, I'm a Swiftie, and so mine had a really sweet lyric quote on it. And then there was another really, really heartfelt, fearless quote for Allison's mug. Those are always the most meaningful, right? Not branded gifts that have something to do with the person who you're giving them to. I'll never not use that mug and think about who gave it to me, right? And the meaning behind why she gave it to me. Just incredible.
And also giving with no expectation of return.
Exactly.
We're not in a position to refer personal injury cases in this state.
Right.
I mean, maybe.
Right. Right. If someone, shouts out hey, does anyone know, a PI lawyer over here? Then yes. Certainly that name's going to be the one that sticks in my mind.
But it's not transactional.
No.
And it's just authentic. It's putting joy into the world. It's making somebody stay. It's thinking about others. It's doing something that you don't have to do. I would have thought amazing about this firm and about these people had not sent you and Allison mugs, but when they did it aligned with who I think that they are. Mm-hmm. It made me like them more.
Absolutely.
And it won my heart.
Oh, absolutely.
Look, it's not the coffee mug. It is the thought, mm-hmm. and it is feeling seen. It is feeling heard, and it's just so comforting. And so when people turn to law firms, it's because that they're in some turmoil. They're in a situation that they don't want to be in. And how are you making them feel? Mm-hmm. How are you making everybody who calls your office feel? How are you making your employees feel? How are you making your community feel about you? Are you giving without the expectation of return? Are you showing up? Are you adding value? Are you doing it consistently? Are you doing it when there's no advantage to you? It's not some quid pro quo here. And to me, as I think about this whole space, like I think about those coffee mugs and I think, yes, like I think that is branding.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that is a hard thing for a lot of people and firms to understand because, yeah, I mean, when you are thinking about marketing your firm, like your assumption is, well, obviously the goal of marketing is to get clients, right? So you're thinking about it in that transactional space. So that isn't always the best way to think about it because then you do lean towards just like, okay, well, what's going to give me the best ROI? What case acquisition is going to be the best for me here? Yeah, you just can't always think about it that way. I mean, I think that's why a lot of marketing agencies often don't even love hearing the words like ROI and things like that because it is really hard sometimes to measure those things. And yeah, if you get yourself too much in the headspace that marketing is transactional, then yeah, I think you're going to end up spending more to probably get the clients that you aren't even necessarily that you want, right? So yeah, I think shifting focus to adding value to other people's lives is going to give you the most authentic marketing, brand identity, and most valuable cases.
Yeah, when I hear somebody really talk about ROI and like, I'm like, okay, you're not getting it. Like, you're not going to be as successful. And like, there has to be like a genuineness. And like, and like for us, like, look, we wrote The Way, and part of our vision, I mean, and transparently, like we make our money from high-end consulting, from people who are paying us to work on their big problems in their firms, to help them, train their paralegals, develop operational strategies, develop marketing strategies. They're looking to us for almost like an outside leadership team to come in and provide perspective or whatever those things are. And that's how we make our money. That's how we pay our bills. But, one of the things that's very important to us is when we sat down, we were like, okay, we want to serve 25,000 lawyers or law firms in 10 years or 12,505 years. And there's only 5 of us. We can't be in Seattle every week. That's not going to get us there. So, one of the things we did is we wrote The Way. We priced it as cheaply as we could. Mm-hmm. In fact, we give it away. If you sign up, we can put a link in the show notes here too. And we mail it to people with zero expectation of return. Mm-hmm. Zero. I mean, look, do we hope if we mail it to enough people that they eventually hire us? Yes. But am I thrilled? Like, we just got a note today. Yeah, I'm thrilled that somebody, a lawyer all the way across the country, West Coast, signed up, got our book, read it, and said, thank you. This is so succinct. It's very powerful. It helps me. Thank you. And it's like, if you're doing it for that, mm-hmm. like the money is just going to follow. But that is, a real act of branding. And look, yes, we have to. Do we run Facebook funnels to promote giving away a book? Yes, we do, mm-hmm. Because we've got to get that message out there. But it's not the sell. It's in line with our values and our vision.
Yeah, which just goes back to, I mean, I've said it here before, that if you don't have a vision and value statements that aren't just fluff words in your firm, they should be the guiding light of every, choice and decision you're making in leading and growing your firm. So
this sort of brings us to our next trip. We are going down to Charleston. Probably maybe by the time you've heard this.
It might be around when this is coming out, but yeah.
Well, we'll see. We're either back from Charleston or about to go to Charleston. Yeah. We will be in Charleston the second week of May.
March.
Fudge. I booked us the wrong week anyway.
We would have made it there 2 weeks late if we had kept his airplane booking.
I cannot be trusted.
Again, thank goodness for women in leadership spaces, because without us, we would have shown up at the airport and not had a flight.
Well, we are also braving non-Delta, which I'll have to come to grips with. But this is what we're talking about in Charleston, and this is the focus of the work that we're going to do around there. And So excited for that event with the Will Guidera's Unreasonable Hospitality team. I think the firms that go there, understand this, accept it, and implement are going to be the ones that are going to continue to thrive. They're going to think about new ways to engage with their employees, their community, their clients. The business, they're going to become the magnet for business. People are just going to refer them. They're going to get unsolicited resumes. Those are the things that happen for us at the firm as we deploy these principles. And I think that, bringing in the Unreasonable Hospitality team, it's going to take it next level with what's going to be unlocked down there. So that is exciting to me.
Yeah.
I'm also going to Utah in May.
Yes.
To go speak at Disrupt Legal, which is HONA's conference.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
Out in Salt Lake in May. I never envisioned that I'd be spending so much time in Utah.
It's a cool place.
It is a cool place. Yeah. So back to Salt Lake in May. And again, hoping to add value, hoping to whoever comes to see me talk, that they leave the room better than they came in it in some which way, which is always the goal. But that is brand building, right? Like that is like, I'm going there, I'm going to fly out there, spend my time and hope that I can add value and hope that that translates into money. But I will take the first part of it. If I can add value, I know that I've won.
Absolutely.
So if you're out there, really, really think about these things. Think about the things that are going on in the space. And these aren't expensive or complicated or hard things to do. It really requires a mindset shift. And it requires you looking for the opportunity to do something and then quickly executing on it.
Yeah. And I think they're the ones that are going to stand out even amongst these behemoths that have been taken over the space. I think we are all, as a population, shifting back a little to, not loving the big business, and we were trying to find our community and our, these small businesses that we can support. I think we're seeing a lot of people in that space wanting to support those. So yeah, if you can be one of those community-driven spaces that feel safe and is adding value, you're going to go far.
So that brings us to sort of our last segment. What are you listening to, reading?
Let me think here. I forgot we do this. It's been that long. I've been in the Lumineers kick. I think just the gray January and February, I always end up in that sort of mood. So I've been jamming to a lot of Lumineers lately.
I have been listening to, I Am Basic. I have been listening to Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, me? Okay, yes. Okay, absolutely, me too.
So that, yes. It is diss track central, A minor, all over my house. So, I loved his Super Bowl performance. I thought it was great. The symbolism, the execution, all of it, 10 out of 10. So I've been listening to some Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. Yes. I have definitely sprinkled in some Kendrick amongst my Lumineers. This is true.
So we will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Way with Best Era. Be sure to visit our website, bestera.io. From there, get more resources, insights, and to connect with us directly. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. That way you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep striving for your version of success.